Chapter 12. The Subconscious Mind. The subconscious mind is the connecting link between the mind of man and infinite intelligence. You cannot entirely control your subconscious mind, but you can voluntarily hand over to it any plan, desire, or purpose which you wish to transform into concrete form. This is the reason I love the comparison with a garden. The fruit comes at a lag, as this is also the case for your action and the results they bring. You can see a clear correlation. The subconscious mind needs to be trained, and it can only be done through the force of habit. As has been stated in the chapter on faith, if you fail to plant desire in your subconscious mind, it would feed upon the thoughts which reach it because of your neglect. Both positive and negative emotions are stored away to make up the subconscious. The subconscious mind is more susceptible to influence by impulse of thought mixed with feeling or emotion than by those originating just simply by the reasoning portion of the mind. To speak its language, you must use the language of emotion or feeling. That is why I prescribed to feel the words you are saying in your autosuggestion. Just saying the words will not make an imprint on a subconscious mind. Positive and negative emotions cannot occupy the mind at the same time. One or the other must dominate. So form the habit of applying and using positive emotions. Eventually, they will dominate your mind so completely that the negative ones cannot enter anymore. When you achieve this state, you have truly become success conscious, and you will attract all the relative information and opportunities that are needed to reach your desire. If you don't, it is very likely that the outside forces of the world will bring you in the opposite negative state, and therefore the opposite negative results. There are no toll gates between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence. The communication costs nothing except patience, faith, persistence, understanding, and a sincere desire to communicate. The method by which you may communicate with infinite intelligence is very similar to that through which the vibration of sound is communicated to the radio. Faith is the only known agency which will give your thoughts a spiritual nature. Faith and fear are opposites. Where one is found, the other cannot exist. Chapter 13. The Brain. Science has begun to turn their attention to the study of the brain, and while they are still in the kindergarten stage of their studies, they have uncovered enough knowledge to know that the central switchboard of the human brain, the lines that connect these brain cells, equal the figure 1 followed by 15 million numbers. Dr. C. Judson Herrick of the University of Chicago says the figure is so stupendous that astronomical figures dealing with hundreds of millions of light years become insignificant in comparison. We have also come to the understanding that all these connections are arranged in a definite, orderly pattern. It is inconceivable that such a network of intricate machinery should be in existence for the sole purpose of carrying on the physical function incidental to growth and maintaining of the physical body. The author working with Alexander Graham Bell and Dr. Elmer R. Gates observed that the human brain is both a broadcasting and a receiving station for the vibration of thought. The subconscious mind is the sending station of the brain through which vibrations of thought are broadcast. It sends that vibration of the dominating thoughts and feelings that have been programmed with frequency. The creative imagination is a receiving step through which the vibration of harmonizing thoughts are picked up from the ether. It is therefore essential to keep your mind focused on your desire with the emotion and feelings of faith, and training your mind and body how attaining this would feel. Most people do the exact opposite and live in a constant state of fear and worry. And then they complain about how they are unlucky. Chapter 14, The Sixth Sense. The sixth sense is a portion of the subconscious mind which has been referred to as creative imagination. It has also been referred to as a receiving set through which ideas, plans, and thoughts flash into the mind in the form of hunches and inspiration. Ability to use this great power comes slowly through the application of the other principles outlined in this book. Seldom does any individual come into workable knowledge of the sixth sense before the age of 40. The reason for which is that the spiritual forces, which the sixth sense is so closely related to, do not mature and not become usable except through years of meditation, self-examination, and serious thought. At this age, it is also easier to transmute the highest form of stimulation, known as sexual transmutation, than it was at the younger years while first experiencing the desire to please women. So be patient with it and develop it over time. Chapter 15, How to Outwit Ghosts of Fear. It is only possible to truly receive when you have rid yourself of fear and are ready for it. There are three main enemies. These are indecision, doubt, and fear. The sixth sense will never function while these three negatives or any of them remain in your mind. Indecision crystallizes into doubt, and the two blend and become fear. This blending process is often slow, and this is one reason why these three enemies are so dangerous. They germinate and grow without their presence being observed. Procrastination and waiting for just the right time is a clear indication that this might be happening to you. So attack with speed. Analyze yourself carefully. It may help to have other people's view, even if it may cause temporary embarrassment. Fear is just a state of mind, and it is very interesting that physicians are less likely to catch any diseases because they simply do not fear the disease. Man can create nothing which he does not first conceive in the form of an impulse of thought. Man's thought impulses begin immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalent, whether those thoughts are voluntary or not. So take control of your thoughts. Every human has this ability. Nature has given man the absolute control over but one single thing, and that is thought. This fact, coupled with the additional fact that everything which man creates begins in the form of a thought, leads one very near to the principle by which fear may be mastered. There are 6 basic fears. The first one is the fear of poverty. This fear grew out of man's inherent tendency to prey upon his fellow men economically. The fact that man's desire to please women with riches is another common reason that the ability to do so is a very feared situation. Second of all, the fear of criticism. This fear robs man of his initiative, destroys his imagination, and limits his expression of ability. In the law of success, it is described that it is a deeply seated fear for the reason that for thousands of years, survival depended on being accepted by the tribe. The third fear is the fear of ill health. During the flu epidemic, which broke out during the World War, the mayor of New York City took drastic steps to check the damage which people were doing to themselves through their inherent fear of ill health. He called the newspapermen and he said to them, "Gentlemen, I feel it necessary to ask you to not publish any scare headlines concerning the flu epidemic. Unless you cooperate with me, we will have a situation which we cannot control." The newspapers quit publishing stories about the flu, and with one single month, the epidemic was successfully checked. I personally find this story very interesting. due to the contrast with a recent situation and how that was handled. Hypochondria or imaginary illness is just an offspring of the negative application of autosuggestion. When people constantly imagine having a certain pain or a certain sickness and start feeling it, and therefore they bring it into reality. Fourth is the fear of loss of love of someone. Fear, another deeply rooted fear as having a partner was essential to carrying on your bloodline. Men still steal each other's wives like they have always done, but they don't use brute force anymore. They sway them with materials and luxuries. Fifth is the fear of old age. This fear stems from not wanting to lose mental or physical power. But this is not needed, as there are tons of inventors and successful people who only started achieving in their later years because they found a greater understanding of the power of the mind described in a way earlier. And the sixth is the obvious fear of death. For hundreds of millions of years, men have been asking the still unanswered question, where did I come from and where am I going? All through history, there have been charlatans making it their business to sell tickets to heaven or another form of peaceful afterlife. Given the fact that life is energy, it cannot be destroyed, only transferred in a different form. Death, therefore, is just a mere transition. Understand that worry is a form of sustained fear caused by indecision. Therefore, it is a state of mind which can be controlled. Kill the habit of worry in all its forms by reaching a general decision that nothing which life has to offer is worth the price of worry. With this decision will come poise, peace of mind, calmness, and through it, happiness. A man whose mind is filled with fear not only destroys his own chances of intelligent action, but he transmits these destructive vibrations to the mind of all who come in contact with him. Even a dog or a horse knows when a master lacks courage, and a honeybee immediately senses fear and for a reason unknown will start stinging this person much more readily than it will sting a calm person who has no fear. There are numerous reasons why you must keep your mind free from fear. Firstly, the person who releases thoughts of a destructive nature must suffer damage through the breaking down of the faculty of creative imagination. Secondly, the presence in the mind of any destructive emotion develops a negative personality and therefore personal reality which repels people and often converts them into enemies. The third source of damage to the person who entertains and releases negative thoughts is the fact that these impulses are not only damaging to others, but they embed themselves in the subconscious mind of the person releasing them. Therefore, they become part of this person's character. To be successful, you must find peace of mind, acquire the material needs of life, and above all, attain happiness. It is your responsibility to keep your mind closed against all people who depress or discourage you in any way. Without a doubt, the most common weakness of all human beings is the habit of leaving their minds open to the negative influences of other people. You have the power to control your own thoughts. You may influence, direct, and eventually control your own environment, making your life what you want it to be, or you may neglect to exercise this privilege which is yours and thereby cast yourself upon the broad sea of circumstances where you will be tossed like a ship on the waves of the ocean. Study the record of any man who achieves noteworthy success and you will observe that he has control over his own mind. Moreover, he exercises that control and directs it towards the attainment of definite objective. Without this control, success is not possible. As Plato said, the first and best victory is to conquer self. To be conquered by self is of all things the most shameful and vile. It is another weakness of common men to make alibis and excuses for them not attaining success. This is truly the lowest and worst activity you can give towards your divine creative faculty. With these alibis, they try to cover up their weaknesses. If used differently, however, this same time and energy would be sufficient to cure their weakness and so making alibis completely unnecessary. I would like to remind you that life is a checkboard and the player opposite you is time. If you hesitate before moving or neglect to move promptly, your men will be wiped off the board by time. You are playing against a partner who will not tolerate indecision. Previously, you may have had a logical excuse for not having forced lives to come through with whatever you asked. But now, this alibi is completely obsolete because you are in possession of the master key that unlocks the door to life's bountiful riches. I hope you enjoyed the summary of Think and Grow Rich. I kind of feel like the book should have been called, and not to knock Napoleon Hill because to me he is an absolute legend, but it should have been called Feel and Grow Rich because feeling is the true secret. I hope you found practical steps in changing your beliefs to become success focused, but also to navigate the external world with marketing your own services, creating definite plans, creating a mastermind group, and so many more techniques to actually apply yourself with this newfound belief system to the world of success. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I definitely recommend you read the book yourself. And until the next meeting, best of luck in the markets or wherever in your life. Make a decision to reach success. Take control of your thoughts and achieve your desires.